You know what I just realized?
What's that?
No more John Lithgow. We got the rest of him at the end of episode 9.
No, doesn't he die at some point? We get that? Because doesn't he have to have like a big state funeral?
But we don't see him again.
No, that's true. Not until like maybe he has like a shot. No more John.
No more.
So now we have to do a Third Rock of the Sun rewatch. Third Rock from the Sun rewatch podcast.
Or we can watch Dexter.
He's in Dexter?
Oh yeah.
Mm.
He's a real bad one in Dexter. He has range.
He really
this
does.
Motherfucker's
I haven't
got range.
seen him go evil. He is the voice of Lord Farquaad.
Evil. Oh yeah, everyone knows that.
I forgot about that. I knew it at some point, forgot about it, rediscovered it, could not be happier.
Shrek is an amazing movie, and it holds up.
I feel like we should just maybe for
We're
the
gonna
Patreon.
do this.
For the Patreon, though. For the Patreon. For the future and the Patreon. If anybody's interested, maybe if we do fun movie, like every once in a while, we'll do like a fun movie review. All right.
Welcome to The Crownening.
The Crownening.
This is the season finale. Season 1, episode 10, Gloriana.
We'll have a whole season under our belt.
Yeah.
It's going to be amazing. And then just for you guys to know, we are going to take a little break, maybe over the summer, just to kind of focus a little bit more on well-behaved women, on the women that we love and women I'm intrigued by the villainesses. So we will take some more time over the summer to dive back into history, and then we will come back, hopefully in the fall, for another season of The Crownening.
Yeah, this has been a fun, little interlude for, just to kind of give a little bit of breathing room.
Yeah, it's kind of fun to focus on a narrative view, where, the directors and the writers of the show kind of took their own guesses as to how they navigated being a family.
Creative license.
Yeah, the creative license.
Yes, for sure.
So Gloriana, let's get our little blurb here.
Yes, what does the blurb say?
The blurb. Margaret and Peter are reunited, but another obstacle stands in their way. The queen is torn between her duty as sovereign and her love for her sister. All right.
So the whole episode opens on Edward and Wallace Simpson, and they've got, I think, tango music playing. And
it's
dancing
1936.
They're dancing in their little sitting room and just having a gay old time. They're just enjoying
each other's company and just enjoying it.
And one of their servants comes in and announces that Albert and Cookie have shown up.
Fun. Put a wet blanket on this fire.
And Edward says, I'll only see him. I'm not going to see her.
I get it.
Basically, they come to this meeting and he says, well, you've made so Bertie, I keep calling him Bertie.
That's okay. That's his
King
nickname.
George.
I called him King Daddy.
King Daddy. So King Daddy is basically saying, so you've made your decision then. Are you sure that there's nothing that can be done? He says, do you love Wallace more than your country, more than your own family? You basically, if you do this, I have to let you go as a brother. And Edward says, yeah, no problem. Pay me to leave.
Yeah.
And I'll take off.
Yeah, because Ed was saying, yes, you have a wife. You have heirs to spare. Yeah. And then Bertie is like, it's going to crush the girls. It's going to crush them. Yeah. And yes.
It's like that episode earlier where Elizabeth kind of confesses, I could have just been a simple country, just a member of a royal house, and that's it. I could have just been a housewife.
A simple country
wife.
woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you forced me into this position.
Right. And Bertie's like, look, if you're doing this, get out. I don't want you in the country. Yeah. I want you and that woman gone for good. Yeah, and that's when he's like, yeah, anymore. If you pay me, I'll be gone for good.
Exactly.
And I'm like, damn. Cold, Ed.
It cuts over to Lizzie and Margaret as little girls. They're doing Sailor went to CCC.
Oh, yeah. I called it patty cake, but you're right. It's that, cute. Whatever that is.
But they're doing the little clap things. And basically, and it's Tommy Lascelles. He comes in and he says the king wants to see them. And so the girls go over and see King Daddy, and he takes their hands in one of each, in one hand each. And he says, basically, You need to promise me that you will never put anything or anyone before one another.
Yeah.
And so they vow that day as little girls, they promise their father and each other they're never going to let anything or anyone come between that relationship.
Yeah, he kind of forgot, though, that Elizabeth was going to be the queen.
And then we go to the intro song.
Dun, 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 dun. I forgot what the intro.
Dun, 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 dun. No, that's... Wait. It's very remarkably similar in tune to... is it Nightmare Before Christmas?
Sort of, but I don't know. I have to remember. It starts off so slow, and then it goes dun, 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 dun. It's like you have the dun, 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 dun in the back. It all comes together.
So it opens over to Margaret's birthday.
25th birthday.
25th birthday. They're celebrating.
You could rent a car
without the extra insurance.
Yeah.
She's very excited. They're having a little party. They're all floofed up and dressed up like they always are.
I'm sorry, floofed up?
I don't know.
Floofed up?
She has
Gussied
but
up, I
one
would have
wish.
accepted.
She just wants one thing for her birthday. She wants Peter.
Of course.
She's 25. She's done her duty.
Him.
She announces to her family, you know what? I've waited.
I'm still
I would
committed.
like everyone to know I'm still committed to this man. I would like to marry him. So now that he's 25, that I'm 25, I still want to do that.
You
Can
thought
we
I'd
get this
change my
going?
mind.
Yeah, exactly. And so she kind of calls up Lizzie's promise, and she's like, you promised that we could do this if I waited, and I've waited.
Yeah. It's time for you to keep up your end of this. And Liz is like, yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She and Cookie both are like, all right, cool, yeah.
Is Cookie really on board?
But Cookie says, yeah, okay, cool.
Oh, okay. I didn't notice Cookie had anything to do with it. I was like, oh shit. Yeah.
Well, they're both in the room.
Yeah, true. Margaret looks so happy.
Oh, I know. It's her birthday, and she's getting the one thing that she wants.
Yeah.
She loves him so much, and all she wants is
Peter
to be with this man.
Yeah, and I get it. He's a handsome man. So now we see Michael Adine, this private secretary of Liz, and he's going over documents of the day, and there's a few small items, and then Liz instructs that she wants to return Peter from banishment, essentially, back here for Margaret, return him. And Michael hesitates, and then he brings up, well, ma'am, there is a second part of the Royal Marriages Act, and that Margaret can only give her notice of intention to marry, but she is not exactly free to marry. I know. And so Liz is like, excuse me, nobody told me this. Why am I only now hearing about this? This is kind of an important little detail. Parliament apparently has to approve it. Yes, ma'am.
No, I'm waiting.
Oh, okay.
I'm waiting.
So, Parliament has to approve it. She has to now wait another 12 months. And Michael Adine. I'm just going to start calling him Adine. Adine is like, I also don't think that they're going to approve it. And if that's the case, and if she still tries to marry, it's going to be null and void. None of it's going to go through. So now Liz has another problem to face. She wants to know why she wasn't told. And we now see Tommy getting a briefing.
The reveal. This is what I was waiting for.
Yes. Tommy.
Turns out.
Yeah. So basically, we're getting a little flash forward while we're talking with Liz. So we get a flash forward to Tommy Lassel's on the phone with Michael, supposedly after the conversation. And so Tommy's going, well, I hope you told her it. And then we flash over to Michael telling him, I said it's always been there, ma'am, in black and white.
Basically, this is a cinematography. I don't know. This is a clever way of showing us that Tommy is behind all of this. He's pulling that string, and he's given Michael a script to follow.
Exactly.
And not only that, but it was Tommy's job to inform her fully of all of this shit 2 years ago when he was still in that position. And so he knows that he held it back. He held it back on purpose, and he waited for this moment
What a dick move.
And it goes on because they're talking about all of this stuff. And then we find out that not just is it fucking Tommy being manipulative as fuck, but Cookie.
Of course.
Cookie's involved because Cookie, of course, thought that if they were gone and apart from each other for 2 years, that surely Margaret would lose interest and that they would be able to fade.
Tommy really reveals that part where he said, that Cookie and him had put that in place for a reason, that they thought that she would let go.
Almost
and now
like
she
a kill
hasn't.
switch.
Yeah. So now they thought that the 2 years would be enough.
Yeah.
Now they have, and then I think they held back to see if that alone
basically
would have stopped her. And now they're like, here's our plan B.
I think that was their plan B, and this is their plan C. They probably had 7 different contingency. Knowing Cookie and Tommy.
Yeah, it's kind of like now, because Adine's kind of telling him, look, it puts the queen in a really difficult spot. She either allows the marriage, but then the church, which she's head of, will turn against her. That's really bad. And the only other way is if she stops it, then she loses her sister, and the royal family is split in half. So it's just like, what does she do now?
Tommy's really laying out the dichotomy of Elizabeth's entire identity right there.
Right, which we come to later.
Two sides against each other. He's basically laying this out.
She can't please both sides of herself.
Yeah.
Her sister side and her queenly duty side.
And we're going to hear a lot about that in this episode.
Yeah.
The queenly duty versus the side.
Yeah, well, the queen's got another problem coming up because our next scene starts with Phillip just going at Charles about how girly he's being, being grossed out by bait.
Not really going at it.
Frustrated. Come on, boy.
Yeah, you can tell he's a little frustrated. But
what are you, a girl? That's kind of the attitude that Phillip has with him while he's trying to, he's not patient with him at all. And Charles seems to be grossed out by worms. I don't think, manly fishing is really his thing as a little kid. But Philip's frustrated. It pans over to Margaret and Liz, and they're kind of Liz is preparing food for this little picnic table that they're setting up, and Margaret's just kind of standing there, and they're discussing the marriage plans. And so Liz is kind of quiet for a second, and then she brings up, well, can you maybe just wait a moment? There's been a wrinkle. And Margaret's like, I'm sorry, what do you mean by wrinkle? And Margaret
responds a little dramatically here.
She does, but she's also fed up with the fact that she just waited 2 years.
She says Peter has become a martyr. He goes nowhere. He sees no one. I cry myself to sleep every night. And to us as an audience, that sounds so dramatic.
Well, yeah.
What a drama queen.
She is a drama queen.
But Lizzie, not for 1 second, dismisses any of those things that she's complaining about.
No.
Because she's seen how much pain it has brought Margaret. She's seen how much Margaret has truly sacrificed for her for 2 years to do exactly what was asked of her so that she could get this. Lizzie gets it. She is trying.
Yeah, I think Lizzie is really hesitant to do this because she wants so much to do what she promised her sister. She wants her sister to be happy. She does, but she also knows that duty comes before family, and she has to abide by this role she's in, and that all the tricky complications that come with it. So Liz is trying to calm her down.
Yeah.
Yeah, she is really trying to calm her down. She does kind of let her know she's got to wait a little bit longer, and Margaret's just like, well, how much longer? And Liz is like, look, I'm trying to take care of it. I'm going to take care of it. And so Margaret just
shouldn't have even said anything.
I know, but Margaret huffed off. And so, that's where we leave things with Margaret for now. Then Cookie comes over. Now, I will say, this is where I was kind of going with Cookie. Cookie is watching Phillip fighting with Charles about the fishing.
He's too hard on him.
She goes, oh, he dominates the poor boy. And Liz is trying to defend him and is like, well, he can be kind too. And she goes, I still think he's too hard on him. He takes his frustrations out on him. And he still isn't settled. He has a hard time in your shadow. Tommy has a good idea. But we don't hear the idea.
Tommy and Cookie are
a dynamic duo.
Man, they're still having lunches. They're still
tight.
chatting it up. And
They probably have a Snapchat streak.
In 2 consecutive scenes, we already see 2 points at which they've laid out, like, they've already got a plan for everyone else in their
separate
lives.
areas that they're already met, like 2 projects.
2 different projects
two
that they're
different
working on,
projects.
2 different people whose lives they're trying to meddle in, and who gently suggest they do these things for the good of the crowd.
Yeah, no, but isn't it the last time we saw Cookie, like, as a plot point, she was like saying that her daughters don't need her anymore, that she was going to let them run their lives, and here she is fucking meddling.
Well, she also got called back to the castle.
Well,
she said her
did.
daughters don't need her anymore, and then she immediately got called back to the castle.
I forgot about that. You're right.
Yeah, so obviously they did need her.
Okay, you have a point. You have a very good point there.
Just when I got out, they pulled me back in.
Exactly. So now we move to Phillip later making a snarky joke about how his kids are the wrong way round.
Oh.
His girl is a boy and his boy, damn it, is a girl.
Yep.
It's fucking kind of rough, man. And Liz says, like, well, you know, Charles is just sensitive.
He's got little weird ears. He's just a sensitive little dude.
Guys, if you could see Lauren's face right now, she's just giggling about his
fucking elephant.
Oh my god, I gotta show you. Do you remember whose line is it anyway?
Yeah.
Okay, you remember that Ryan Stiles always did an impression of Charles, and he always goes. And I did a horrible impression, but he like flips his ears forward to try to make them stand out. So that's kind of what's making Lauren giggle right now.
Oh my god, he's a sensitive little boy.
Yeah, he is. And then Phil decides not to talk about his sensitive boy, so he turns the conversation back to Liz, going, "Well, what's up with you? You're preoccupied." And she goes, "Well, she's having problems with Margaret and and Cookie interfering, and like what to do."
What to do?
But then she doesn't dive any deeper in that. She then goes, "Well, would you go to Australia to open the Olympic Games?" And he goes, in November. And he goes, "Well, you're not available in November." And he goes, "Well," she goes, no, not with me, alone, in my name." And he seems kind of hesitant, like, you know, and he goes, "Well, I know whose idea this was." And he goes, "Well, how long would it be?" And she goes, "Weeks." And he says he'll try to tough it out. Or he sees right through it, it says he won't go. And she goes, "Well, please, we just want you to be happy. They want you to find happiness in your role.
You want me to be a different man."
Exactly. He goes, "No, you want me to quiet down. Exactly. You want to ship off a problem.
Yeah.
You want to ship me away." And she doesn't see it that way. She goes, "No, it's like you might like the attention. You might shine. And never come back," he says. And she goes, "No, just come back." And he goes, "What?
A different man?"
"No," she says, "just change. Yes, changed." And that's
Yep.
And she said it. And that's where that's where we leave it, because that's probably where he gets up, I think, and he like walks out.
Well, and Eden is on his way.
Oh, that's right. She gets called away because Eden's on his way.
So Philip's frustrated, and in a little, like, it's a transitional moment because he sees Margaret. Margaret's kind of staring forlornly out. She's seen this wrinkle and she's frustrated. So she's retiring to her rooms, never to reappear. And basically, it's another one of those moments where they see each other.
Yeah. He had just seen that.
Both seen as, like, their problems are both being kind of pushed off to the side, and they're both being overlooked, and they're both being not seen as human. It's a little moment of
they both feel like pawns.
Sorted connection. Yeah.
Yeah, they feel like pawns.
Yeah, for sure.
And like Phil definitely feels for Margaret. He just saw that she's splashed all over the newspapers. Everybody in the public wants her to marry Peter.
He wants her to marry.
He does.
He likes Peter.
And it totally changed because at first when, that she proposed, when
on him, I think.
Margaret announced her proposal or her engagement idea to Philip and Liz, Philip's like, but he's too old for her and he's boring. And now he's totally changed his mind. You can see it.
He talks a lot about public opinion. When we go into this in their entire marriages, he is very aware of public opinion and the changing views of the people of Great Britain.
That things are changing.
Yeah.
He even states it, I think, in a conversation at some point in this episode.
Well, and divorce is also a key aspect of this, where this changing view on divorce and community, and even divorced men in the cabinet that are violently opposed to this divorced man marrying Princess Margaret.
I know. So, yeah, you were right. They see each other somewhere in the stairwell. They kind of catch up. And they're both kind of complaining about Liz and the crown. Mainly the crown aspect of her, but...
Well, and Margaret says, well, absence makes the heart grow fonder. And Phillip says, well, perhaps that's why she's shipping me away.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe she wants to be a little fonder of me. And, it's just classic
I get that.
Phillip humor. It's such classic Phillip humor.
Yeah.
And then Margaret adjusts his tie for him. And then I love how he walks away, where he points, snaps, and says, "Chin up."
Yep.
And then that's it. He just walks off.
It's a very sibling moment. They're just such a I like
in-laws.
their relationship.
They're great in-laws.
Yes, they're great.
That's the relationship I hope to someday have with in-laws potentially in the future. Yeah, I love that. So now Eaton and his. So I'm confused. Eaton is divorced. Eden. Oh, I wrote Eaton like the college. My bad. I keep doing that off and on throughout this. I think I fix it later.
Okay.
But is it his wife that comes with him?
Yes.
But wasn't he divorced? Because he's mentioned as one of the divorced cabinet members.
And remarried, yeah.
Did his previous wife die? No, divorced. We're seeing a little double standard here.
That's the whole that's a whole theme.
Not gonna lie to you, went over my head a little bit. I knew that it was unfair, but I guess I assumed that the men also abided by that rule.
Fuck that. Well, they're not in the royal family.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
They're just in the cabinet. It's fine, whatever.
All right. Well, what's he here for?
So he is here because he has recently gotten back from a visit in
Egypt.
Cairo,
yes. I made sure.
With Colonel Nasser.
Whew.
And so there are two reasons for this meeting. And so I'm going to go into one of them, and then you're going to go into the other one.
Yes.
So kind of the premise is let's go for a drive. And so they're in the car, and Eden is explaining that he goes to Cairo and he speaks Arabic.
Yes.
And basically he's saying...
And apparently it's really good Arabic.
It's decent.
No, I mean...
He said he speaks it badly, but it was good enough to be able to pass, for people to understand.
No, there was that scene where Nasser and him, when he was first arriving and speaking in Arabic, they overheard it on the radio, and they're like, his Arabic's good. And then Nasser goes, too good. Exactly. Which I still am curious about Eden's Arabic.
He took a class in...
He did a hustle.
No, he took a class in
Oxford, I think.
Yeah. So he was trying to be diplomatic. This is his first big foray in international,
his first
relations
as a PM.
And so he was like, okay, I'm going to go and show off my Arabic and be a true international diplomat.
I'm amazing.
Right. So he gets there and he's saying it's a really big honor and I can't wait to meet with Colonel Nasser. And so Nasser gets an invitation to the British Embassy for a dinner.
Yeah, big dinner.
A big dinner.
A state dinner, essentially.
And Eden explains, now I thought any normal person would understand that an invitation to dinner means a dinner jacket.
Yeah.
He showed up in a military uniform.
All of his people too.
Ready for battle. And then he acted like it. He basically took great offense to the fact that he was not in a suit and everyone else was. And so I was trying to settle him down.
I wrote the joke. He kind of tried to settle it down with a joke. I don't know if you wrote it down.
If I was as decorated a war hero as you, I would never take off my uniform. I'd wear it all the time.
Exactly.
And then Nasser, unfortunately, catches it, and he's basically like, do you think I don't know that you are more decorated than I am? You were the youngest, blah, 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 blah.
Why are you trying to softball in here?
Exactly.
You're trying to soft launch.
It just doubled the tension, the frustration.
Mm-hmm. And he felt tricked.
Yeah, but it also, and as we go through the episode, we find out it does seem like there's a little bit of history between the two of them. We
Yeah.
can't quite figure out what that is.
Well, and this harkens back to the earlier episodes where in those little news presses, we started hearing Nasser's name, and Eden had been wanting to talk about it. Remember, because he wanted to talk, I think, about that.
Yep.
And then that's when Churchill was like, no, Phillip is flying.
Yep.
Or maybe I'm wrong.
Yes.
Somebody correct me. Yes.
That is, I think they're talking about the fog.
Oh,
that was when the fog was happening.
that you're right. It was the fog, not flying.
She just wanted to know when it was going to clear.
Yeah.
So that he could go back to go flying.
Right. So yeah, it's kind of like Nasser and him. Yeah, it seems like they have a history, and it's weird that with how easily Eden can speak Arabic later on, we'll see that he withdraws that.
He chooses not to. Yeah. So it almost seems like he thinks that is part of the insult, is maybe speaking your language and you don't like that. But for right now, he just ends that incident, and the queen is like, well, I hope that we can figure out a way to kind of calm these waters.
Yeah, to smooth it over.
It just very diplomatic answer, but then she kind of moves into her other topic. The reason she brought him out to a fucking hill.
Yeah, out in the country.
Which is a beautiful setting. I'm not going to lie.
It's basically, if you are listening and you haven't seen the scene, it's like this beautiful. It's overcast because it's England, but it's these beautiful lush green hills, kind of rocky in some places because the hills are like coming out of the ground, so they're really
craggy.
High. Craggy. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. So she brings him to this one spot where there's a big pile of stones, and she tells him why. Because every time Margaret and Peter would meet out here, they would put another stone. And I wrote down...
It's like a cute little pyramid, too.
And it goes up to her elbows.
I know, they're so tall.
So they did this for years.
Yeah. So many meetings. So
many meetings. And
so much devotion visually shown right there.
And that's why she brought him there. She brought him there to discuss this conflict she's in with her sister. And she says that she made a promise to Margaret that when she reached 25, she could marry whom she wanted. She obviously still wants Peter. Now she's told that Margaret, her sister, is going to have to wait another 12 months just to even get approval that apparently no one's going to give. That cabinet is violently opposed. And Eden, I almost did it again. He can't guarantee the approval because he knows so many members are, like you said, violently,
quote unquote, violently opposed.
So she's saying that she felt like she was led astray. So she's asking to advise him or advise me. They held up their end of the bargain. I need to hold up mine. Is there anything I can do? And so Eden's like, look, okay, give me time.
I'll talk to people. We'll see what we can do.
Things are changing.
Maybe.
I'll see what I can do. And that's his statement at the end of that.
That's as much as he can promise.
That's as much as he can give her right now. And so that's where we leave that little conflict. And now
we're at a ball.
Yeah, I wrote a party. Kilts are here. So Scotland. The family are all dancing, and Cookie is paired up with Phillip. And so Phillip takes the moment as a way to say, so you're the one who cooked up this Australia idea. And she kind of points out, well, what? Yes.
Flattered.
And you should definitely be flattered that we're entrusting you to go to Melbourne to open the Olympic Games. But no, that idea was Tommy.
Can I read her quote?
Yes.
When he complains about it?
Yes.
So basically, she's saying, you have freedom. And what freedom? This is not.
Yeah.
This doesn't make any sense. She says, you have more freedom than any consort in history, and you repay it by scowling and skulking like an adolescent.
Yeah, I wrote that same thing down, except for then the second half, I wrote, you're acting like a pissed off teenager.
Pretty much, yeah.
She goes, you should be happy. Like, go see what the spotlight feels like.
Be the main attraction.
Yeah, be the main attraction. Like, you can do your role and feel a purpose.
And then when you come back, you can get over yourself.
Yeah.
And be ready to be supportive of my daughter.
Maybe you'll become
role.
Supportive.
Yeah.
Then we see, after that little bit, Margaret is dancing, and Liz sees Margaret dancing. But then she kind of looks upset, feeling maybe guilty about the position she's being put in. What am I going to do?
Yeah, she's thinking a lot about this because she did make a promise, and she also is hearkening a lot back on to the promise that she made her dad of never letting anything come between her and her sister.
That's right.
And this is really
that wasn't
really
just a promise
testing.
to Margaret. It was a promise to her dad as well.
The next scene I call The Arrival.
Ah!
So it's another one of those, it's not slowed down. This is like, it looks like newspaper, but it's media. It's like old news time.
Flashbulb.
Not news flash. It's not like a photo. It's like newsreel, like an old newsreel style as they are running up the tarmac as the plane lands and that kind of stuff. But we're basically seeing all the press and paparazzi following.
They're hounding
Group Captain Townsend as he lands, and he gets in his car and he goes straight to Buckingham Palace. He's back. He gets into the apartments for Margaret, and oh my God,
the moment? Oh, they shot it where he just walks in and there's nobody there. It looks empty. And then all of a sudden Margaret comes through the door frame.
And the moment is so fucking dramatic. Like, they pause, they see each other, and then it's just all over each other.
They're making out. It was,
it is as close as you can physically fucking get without being literally inside each other. Like, you're making out, you've got your hands all over each other. You just want to be close because you've missed each other so much. They haven't seen each other in 2 years. 2
years. I mean, I don't blame them.
That's some making out to do.
I really don't blame them.
Catching up. I get it.
But they've been thinking about each other constantly while being separated for years. And now they're that much closer to getting married. They're so close.
They're so much in love too. I mean, they're just like, you can see the want and the desire and the missing. And it's it is not even awkward to watch. It's like,
you're happy for her. I literally wrote, I'm so happy for her in this moment.
I know. It's like pure bliss.
I know. And can I just say, Vanessa Kirby, who plays Margaret, mwah, chef's kiss.
Yes.
She's phenomenal. And she just gives this character so much heart, which can be hard.
Because the heartbreak of it all makes it so much worse, and because she also backs the fuck out of that.
It could be so easily done as this jaded, heartbroken. And she is heartbroken.
She plays hopeful and then heartbroken.
Yes. And it is. It's very human. Very human. Who else arrives at Buckingham Palace but Eden? He arrives with his weekly meeting with Liz.
And some updates about her latest battle with cabinet.
Yes. So he is saying that still the senior members of the cabinet are still so very violently opposed.
Fucking annoying.
He even said someone, even a few of them, will resign if this happens. If Margaret marries Peter, they will quit their fucking jobs. So it's not going to work. There's no way around being able, there's no way through to the marriage with Parliament. So the only way really would be to do it against Parliament's wishes.
And this involves so many things because basically then her hands are super tied. And basically then the only way to allow this to happen, she has to give up her title,
her inheritance,
any lands, any income, any servants.
She would have to become just simply Mrs. Townsend.
Yeah.
Mrs. Peter Townsend.
Not only that, she couldn't get married in a church. It would have to be a civil ceremony.
They'd probably have to live outside the country.
They would be obliged, quote, obliged to live abroad for a number of years.
Yeah.
She would literally have to leave her home and her family in order to sacrifice in everything in her life for this man.
Can I just point out a historical reference to this? Henry VIII.
That's all I keep thinking of. This whole episode, we go through the whole fucking Church of England, and I'm like, wasn't that founded so that this man could divorce his wife?
I wrote, what the fuck? Henry VIII founded the Church of England.
Okay, I'm not crazy,
no,
right?
You're
that
not, because they brought up later in the episode the Defender of the Faith thing. That's what brought back to Henry VIII as the first monarch. He got the title from the Pope. And so then because he had defended the faith against Martin Luther. And then later he broke from Rome, became the head of the Church of England, did all of this Protestantism, founded the rules of the Church of England. And then now Liz is now having to uphold this for even though the rest of the world is moving forward.
Wait, but again, I say he founded the Church of England so he could divorce his wife. And now they're not allowing that.
Yeah, exactly. It's
the divorcing of an alive wife so that he could remarry another person.
And he did not wait until she was dead.
No. That was the whole point.
Years into the marriage.
When the fuck did that change?
I know.
I don't
It's literally super hypocritical. And I think it's another thing, not just because Margaret's a woman, but because Liz is a woman.
I don't even think it's when the fuck, at some point, that must have changed. And I think it was in the 1800s or nope. It was Henry's siblings.
What do you mean?
Henry VIII's siblings that he didn't want marrying. That was why they got the Royal Marriages Act. Right?
That was in the 1700s.
Okay, so
then Henry VIII is in the 1500s.
So Henry VIII created the church so that he could divorce
Catherine of Aragon.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then get remarried.
Yeah, to Anne Boleyn.
So then the royal marriages things started in the 1700s because the
George
king
III
didn't want his brothers?
Children. So George III,
yeah,
the guy who lost the colonies in America,
right?
The weird mad guy who had some brain problems. His two eldest sons had super shitty marriages.
Yes, we've talked about this.
Yes, and that's why he set up the Marriages Act, because he didn't approve those marriages, George III. So he was like, this is fucking bullshit. This is a major problem. I'm gonna set this act so that we protect the crown.
So that was when it changed.
Yeah,
that was when it changed.
Mm-hmm. The so royal
it's 200
family,
years. I'm like,
yeah, it's just insane to me that there's so many laws that were put into place to govern the royal family itself. Very fascinating. So
they're talking about they're gonna have to make her
renounce her titles.
Margaret is gonna have to get married in a civil ceremony, renounce her titles, all this.
Yeah. So Liz says that, she still wants to do everything she can for her sister. Mm-hmm. So she's going to have to, I guess, tell her about this option. So next scene,
Margaret is hearing about this.
Yes. Now Margaret is hearing from Liz. And of course, Margaret's upset.
So she thinks it's some sort of long-term plot, some evil scheme they had all along.
You don't want me to be happy.
But she says, you know what? I could live happily without all the titles and the servants and the money.
Yeah.
And you know what, though? I'm going to submit that is bullshit.
Yeah.
I'm going to call
bullshit.
They
think I'm just going to give up.
I'm going to call bullshit on Margaret.
Yeah.
Because no, you can't, bitch. You have had servants at your beck and call from the moment you
were born.
And you don't know what it's like to live without a insulting level of money at all moments.
She could live at Peter's level. Peter's a captain. He lives well.
But it wouldn't be palatial well.
No, it would not. It would not hold a candle to Buckingham
And they'd have to live out of the country.
That's true. And she wouldn't be close. And she loves her sister. She does love Liz.
Which is why I submit that it is bullshit. I understand.
Well, we know it is because later in the episode.
I understand that, I understand the drama of it all.
Yeah.
And, she would definitely be Mrs. Townsend. I think that is fairly obvious. But I don't think she understands what she'd really, truly be giving up by actually making this decision.
Me. I can relate. Liz says, but I don't want you to have to give it up. Just please think about it. And so Margaret's like, fine, while I'm doing that, I want you to think about the fact that the country love this match. Mm-hmm. They want us to get married, that the future is tolerant of divorcee marriages. And Liz is saying, well, that's not me. I'm not the one saying that you can't do this. She goes, fine. Then the government made in your name.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we leave that. Yeah. She is not cooperating. Margaret is not cooperating.
Understatement of the century, yeah.
And I get it. She shouldn't have to. I think this whole rule of the Royal Marriages Act is bullshit, but I also wasn't raised in an institution, so I have no idea.
Right. It cuts to the very happy and very newly reunited couple. They're going to a party. And they
Party
are
time.
in a cab on their way to the party, and there are tons of paparazzi, like
Hounding
almost
them.
getting in wrecks,
Yeah.
trying to keep up with them, taking their
Yep.
photos.
They're crossing the center line on the road.
Yeah, they almost get hit by an oncoming car. It's a whole thing.
It's terrifying.
And when they finally are left alone, it's because a gate closes in front of them. So they go to this party at their friend's house, and people make little comments about the fact that Margaret is, quote, the most eligible woman in the world.
True.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, very true.
It's a party, it's hopping, people want to dance, so they ask Margaret to come dance with them. She invites Peter, but Peter has just come in from a very long journey. I'm sure he's fucking tired, so he just wants to go to bed.
He's like, you just stay up, you dance, have fun.
Yeah.
I'm just going to turn in.
Also, she's a young woman. She's in her mid-20s.
Yeah.
And he's, what, like 40 or something? Yeah. So there's a fair bit of age difference there, and his body is a lot older and tired.
He's not in his party era, and she is most definitely still in her party era.
So she hangs out. She, does a couple dances and stuff, but
Drinks a little more.
We see her padding up to the bedroom later on.
Little drunk.
A little drunk, but also just like she wants to come see him.
Yeah.
And she comes and gives him a kiss, but then she just lays on top of him.
She just wanted to tell him she loves him.
Yeah.
And he goes, I love you.
And
Rests his head.
She just puts her head on his chest, and he holds her, and it's a nice little like moment of reunited.
Yeah. But then their little visit to the party made the news.
Oh yeah, God.
And Liz is now seeing about the party. The next day, Liz is watching the TV as per usual, and their little party visit made the news.
Well, and they're out and about in the town. They're
big news.
They're being seen.
Yeah, obviously. And the pap is all over them.
Yes.
And so Liz she looks at it with a very steely look on her face. She's not happy about it, obviously. She's not like, oh, yay for them.
Yeah, my note says she looks distraught.
Yeah, like this is becoming a problem.
Yeah, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Oh, it's Eden now. So he takes what I called either a pill or an Altoid mini.
It's definitely a pill, or some morphine or whatever.
Yeah, it's something probably a doctor's prescribed him
he's
after.
taking his meds.
Yeah. And he seems like he's a little nervous. He meets with Liz in their weekly meeting, and she still intends to keep her promise to Margaret as best she can.
And she tells him about this vow that she made.
Yes, about the promise she made to Margaret and her father that nothing would come between them, that they would always put each other first. And she still is trying to do that.
And she knows that this is an impossible choice.
Yes. She then moves on to the people keeping her from doing just that. Cabinet.
Mm-hmm.
She then informs him that on Cabinet, there are no fewer than 4 divorced men.
I hold my hands up like they could see me to write my
I did. I saw you. I was like, girl, thank you for your help. Eden apparently included in that.
Yep.
And Liz asks him to ask Cabinet to reconsider their opposition. So Eden says yes, he'll try, but warns her that there will still be a major fight with the church. And Liz says she'll take care of that, as she is, in fact, the head of the church.
And then she has the bishops come and visit her.
She later watches out the window as the church members arrive. So, to discuss this marriage issue. So I wrote down the ABFC, which is the Archbishop of Canterbury.
Oh, I remember.
Stuffy old church guy in robes. Goes on about how marriage is a sacrament, blah, blah, blah. Cornerstone of Christian life, foundation, blah, 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 blah. Basically, only death can dissolve a marriage, making someone only then, able to marry again. Liz is like, well, even if he is the innocent party. And the church is like, no,
There's
bitch.
no such thing as an innocent party in a divorce.
That's apparently not. You both failed at marriage.
Yeah.
F-. Get out of here.
F-.
Well, in the Catholic
Failed
Church,
minus.
if you divorce,
it's
you're not allowed back in, essentially. Like, if you divorce and then remarry, you can't get remarried in a Catholic church. It's like a whole thing.
I had to, let's see, when Kevin wanted to remarry, I had to write a letter basically explaining why we got divorced and my recommendation whether or not I thought he was worthy to marry in the temple again. And then
Interesting.
When I wanted to get remarried, I had to write another application basically applying to cancel his and my sealing.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
It was a lot of trouble to go to.
Yeah, a lot of extra steps. They make it really hard. They make it like a labor. Like, how the hell is his...
Well, that's church, baby.
Yeah, he has to like go back and try to find, like, track you down so he can get married again.
Literally.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, so little Liz, she goes, fuck, I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place. Not an actual quote. So the Archbishop of Canterbury reminds Liz that she's the defender of the faith. And this is where I also wrote that thing about Henry VIII. Henry VIII, first monarch with the title, remarried 5 fucking times.
5.
And he beheaded wives.
Come on.
He committed murder against wives for supposedly, allegedly cheating on him. And yet he still gets to keep that title. And now Liz is being told that she has to, like, defend her sister's honor, essentially, with her first marriage from an innocently divorced man just because his ex is still alive.
Yep.
What the fuck? And yet Henry remarried while his ex was still alive. Anyway. Woo! Just still, the hypocrisy.
We feels.
Phil and Lil, which is so funny because Rugrats. Oh my God, how did I just get this? Phil and Lil. They're at home watching TV, or at least Philip is watching TV.
Yes.
And the public are basically giving an interview about their thoughts on Margaret's marriage issue. Mm-hmm. And so you hear a man going, well, you know, I was able to marry whoever I wanted, and she should be able to marry whoever she wants. And the public is very much with them. And Phil says so. He goes, the public seems pretty clear on their stance. Mm-hmm. And Lil is like, well, so was the Archbishop of Canterbury. And Philip is like, you don't have to listen to them. But she goes, but I'm the head of the church.
He says, well, stop being the head of the church. Stop being the head of the state. Stop being the queen.
Yeah, don't be a queen. Don't be any part of the circus.
And yeah, take out that whole damn thing. And she says, well, what would I be then? And he says, a living, breathing thing. A woman, a sister, a daughter, a wife.
Right. He's trying to appeal to the human side of her.
You have family ties that really, really need you.
Yeah.
You've been begging for this.
Yeah.
And you can't let go of your crown for the sake of your humanity.
Yeah. Absolutely. But at this point, a dean comes in and he pulls her away.
Interrupts
Her Majesty. Again. Not the queen, not Liz. Her Majesty has to get pulled away.
Yep.
And then Philip just looks off in the distance, pissed off. Because, of course, right here is his exact point being proven.
Yep, exactly.
They were in the middle of a really important discussion, but her queenship had to get called away.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, because she had a call waiting.
True.
And I love this scene.
Yes.
Can I talk about this scene?
Please. Yes.
Okay. So Elizabeth is asking advice, and she has called her uncle, Eddie.
Our fave. He was in the middle of a raging party.
He was in the middle of a rager, like a literal masquerade. He took his little mask off.
Took a mask off
to answer the phone.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna read a lot of what he says word for word, because the quote here, and Eddie is so poetic about it, and it really does.
That man's
really capture the dichotomy of the choice.
He farts a sonnet.
He farts a sonnet, and it's a beautiful definition of the difficult choice that lies ahead.
Yeah.
He says, so basically he said, I knew you were going to call me about Margaret.
Because I've seen it all happening in the news.
Yes, it's been all we can talk about. And for the record, Paris is all for it.
Yeah, he says France is for it.
Well, Paris is for it. That's the only France that matters.
He said France.
And then he says, well, Paris is for it.
Oh, I missed that line.
And that's the only France that matters.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I missed that line.
Oh, you're fine.
That's a good one.
It is. It's a funny one.
I'm telling you, this man farts poetry.
He does. Beautiful poetry.
Yeah, the way he words things.
He's basically, he says it's the only France that matters.
Yeah. Which I get.
He says, of course I support her. I share with her the fate of having a great love that captured the country's imagination, only to have it forbidden by the establishment.
Exactly.
Naturally.
La Marianne,
yeah. He says, the other great love of my life, the crown and protecting the crown. He says, I understand that you're split down the middle. You are half sister and half queen. a strange hybrid creature like a sphinx or a gamayun, as I am Ganesha or Minotaur. We're half people, ripped from the pages of some bizarre mythology, two sides within us, human and crown, engaged in a fearful civil war which never ends, and which blights our every human transaction as brother, husband, sister, wife, mother.
Yeah.
I understand the agony and you feel, and I am here to tell you it will never leave you. I will always be half king. My tragedy is that I have no kingdom. And this last line just fucking gets me because he has just these tears in his eyes. He says,
He does. He wells up.
you have it and you must protect it.
Yeah.
And the scene ends.
Yeah.
Just, it is the most weighted line of the entire season.
Yeah.
And part of me thinks that he knows that she has to say no.
Yeah.
He's telling her, obviously I'm rooting for her, but I know what you
He
have to do.
can empathize with both of them.
I know what you have to do. Yeah.
He has an experience that is unique to each of those sisters.
Totally. And he chose the other side of it.
And it's so weird because he also ends up later having a link to Charles, too.
Oh, yeah.
You know, for a man who was so shunned by this family, he's kind of the only one who can understand any of them. He's the most human of them all.
You know, my aunt kind of did some crazy shit in her life.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom likes to talk about kind of how she was the crazy one. But now that she's gone, it's like, you know what? She actually understood so much more than a bunch of people in the family because she lived a life.
She lived an individual life. Yeah.
Yeah. She could have empathy with people because she knew what they were going through.
She understood different aspects.
He had true empathy for these people because he had lived both sides of this and lived the consequences of his decisions at every turn.
Which is so odd because it's like, yeah, Liz grew up knowing that her family saw this man as a bad man, and yet here she is coming back and speaking to him and looking to him for advice.
Yes.
You know, I kind of like that his relationship with that part of the family, at least with Liz,
has repaired
a little bit.
Oh, yeah,
it's
same.
still fractured, obviously, because he's
still
not
have a nice
back from Paris.
But they still have, he likes his life in
True.
Paris.
I forgot. He hates London.
But I think they have a much easier relationship than he ever had with Cookie and with Bertie
Cookie
while he was with Cookie.
Hates him.
So
she spits venom at him.
Exactly. But I think that his easier relationship with his nieces is nice to see because now she can go to him for advice.
Yeah, it's even nicer later when we see his relationship with Charles. Because they do get to see each other, I think, once or something, but they write to each other a lot.
For sure.
Yeah. All right, so Margaret, we flip over to Buckingham Palace. She's arriving at the front gates.
Yeah.
Liz, right before Margaret walks in, she's pacing around, and then Margaret arrives. So Liz has to now deliver the bad news.
Very difficult speech that she has to deliver.
She talks about how she had to weigh carefully. She had to think hard. She weighed and discussed with a lot of different people.
The concept of this marriage has touched on country, morality, divorce,
scripture,
tradition,
family. It was such a huge decision, a decision we've been building up to all season.
She really tries to weigh. She says, I've really tried to go to the mat for you. It is softening the blow. I really tried. I promise I tried. But.
And right as soon as Margaret hears the word but, her face goes from nervous but hopeful to suspicious and a little angry.
Other shoe drop.
Yeah.
Damn it. I knew this was happening.
This is right after she says, but she has to deliver that the marriage cannot take place.
I cannot allow the marriage to, and you can't be allowed to marry and also remain part of the family. Yeah.
Yes. It is so hard for her. She knows she has to. And she tells her that she realized as queen, she can't allow it. She has no choice. She has to cut Margaret, out of the family and out of the country, essentially, if she marries Peter.
In defiance of the pledge you made to our father and the pledge you made to me?
Yeah. Yes. And Liz just goes, yes. And then so Liz asks if Margaret will forgive her. Margaret goes,
I say basically no.
yeah, no, I wrote, Margaret says, will you deny me the man I love? You got Phillip, and everyone did not want it.
But it is a whole different situation. Is that Phillip, he wasn't a divorced man. There was a whole different issue.
That's how it doesn't compare.
Yeah, it doesn't compare at all, and that's the big issue here.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, it really isn't the same thing.
And she tries to then soften it on the back end by going, but you love again? Girl, not the time for this discussion.
And Margaret's trying to defend it. She's like, look, Peter's the only one that can keep my brain sane.
She knows how to calm me down when I get overheated. Like if I get too angry or too upset, he knows how to center me. She's described him as her anchor.
Yes, very much so.
So she doesn't get lost.
Without him, I'm lost.
And she asks Liz, do you ever know how it feels to be unhinged? Or lost. And it's kind of, you look at Liz's face and it just does not, there's no recognition on her face of what that feels like.
No.
Because she's always known what her duty is.
Yeah. She's always had a moral direction.
Which is the crown.
Yes, that's her true north.
And Margaret doesn't have a true north. Not like the way that Phillip, even though he is lost right now, he's been told what his true north is.
The crown is supposed to be their true north as well. But they don't know how to separate Elizabeth from the crown.
Yeah, and I think Phillip is learning how to separate.
They're both learning that.
They're
both learning
they are.
that
they're learning it together. Both. But they're not really doing it together because right now
they're struggling in their separate ways.
But right in the same room, right next to each other.
That's what I was saying at the beginning. Is he sees her in her struggle and she sees him in his struggle, but they're suffering alone, separately.
Yeah,
because they're both going through their own things.
Yeah. Their relationship evolution is fascinating.
Yes,
in this one.
But the whole scene ends. I mean,
at least with Liz, because then we have Peter coming up to Margaret.
This is such a sad scene.
Yeah.
Ugh. It's so heartbreaking, honestly. Peter and Margaret are saying their goodbyes, and basically she says, I will never forgive her. I will never marry anyone else ever.
Well, I wonder if Peter was coming to get the news on how it went, because it seemed like he was kind of hopeful when he came in, and that's when she turned around and he saw her just sobbing. I think that's when he knew it didn't go well, and so that's when she's like, then it turns into a goodbye.
Which is so fucking devastating, but he's the one to break the news.
And he doesn't want her to give up the title either.
No, he knows that this was an impossible decision, and he doesn't want her to suffer for that love. And so they both make this decision like, okay, well, I guess we got to break up then.
Yeah. So the next thing we see is Peter in his office writing his speech.
And then he's in the, and then he's on the news. And so he breaks the news and says it's against the church teachings. He says, quote, "We're strengthened by the unfailing support of the royal family, whom it has been my honor and privilege to serve these last 10 years.
For anybody listening, I was making a very obscene hand gesture when he said unwavering support of the royal family.
Fuck off.
Bullshit.
Ugh. And he leaves on a plane back to Brussels. He's gone.
Yeah, he went back to his, I guess, second home now.
And Philip's watching this on the news, and he is in disgust.
He is upset on Margaret's behalf.
He is so upset.
Yes. Absolutely. He is not happy with the fact that basically he watched his wife be almost unhumanly cruel.
Yes. To these two people who loved each other.
To her own sister.
Yes.
Who was desperately in love, showed commitment to this man, was absolutely ready to marry him.
Did everything she was told she needed to do.
Had to, in order to serve the crown, she had to break a promise to her sister and father.
And on the TV, there's such a sad line. It says, "The end of a story with love and duty, with duty prevailing."
Yeah, and the plane flies off.
Ugh.
All right, so now we're moving on to Phillip. Phillip is seen walking through the Buckingham Palace halls. I almost said walls. I meant halls. He's just like crawling through the walls. He's so pissed. So he's on his way to see Liz. And while he's walking through the halls, we hear Liz is speaking with a dean about the whole second part of the Nasser
God.
Eden mess. Would you like to enlighten us on that?
Oh, yeah. So Eden decided he wanted to try and calm the situation.
Oh, no.
And so he tried again. So this time, Eden called and he was talking to Nasser. But because he knew that Nasser, he didn't want...
Do we know if Eden knew that Nasser didn't have a translator?
No. He just thought that because his Arabic was too good, he was like, well, I don't want to offend him, so I'm only going to speak English.
Which I wonder why Arabic being good is offensive, but we're not going to
because there's no winning with it, which was the whole point, was
Okay.
there's no winning with Nasser. So he was trying in a million different ways to please this guy who was just not going to be pleased. So he only speaks English to Nasser, but Nasser has not arranged for a translator to be present.
And his English is like, eh.
Yeah, and so he was left feeling kind of caught with his pants down, a little embarrassed.
Legitimately tricked. He thought he felt tricked.
Exposed and humiliated and
Yeah.
tricked. And so he took offense, and so this is just only
Getting worse.
ramping up the tension and then he says, Michaelis says, it seems like there is some sort of history between these two.
Yeah.
He does kind of give a mention of like, this is not their first, like tension between them.
Right. It feels like things were tense from the start because of the history potentially. Like this
And we
had
don't
to have
quite
had
know
history
what-
here.
Yeah, we don't quite know what that is.
Yeah, Eden has not disclosed any prior history with Nasser, but it seems like there might be some there. So, like, what's happening?
But that gets interrupted because Phillip
shows up.
He wants a word with Lizzie. I
Yeah.
said lizard.
Oh my God! I called her Lil and Phil.
Lil.
You're going with lizard. I like
Oh
it.
my
Fizzard
God.
and lizard.
Lizard and lizard.
I should draw them as lizards. Are you okay?
Oh my God, I was just imagining Fizzard and Lizard.
Like lizard royalty?
Like lizard royalty, but Fizzard and Lizard and... Oh my God. All right, I'm sorry.
A dowdy
I got
lizard.
so distracted.
Oh my God. Well, Philip coughs to kind of introduce his arrival. So Dean just leaves. And so Phil says to Lil that he's off to go meet the Olympic Committee.
Fizzard says to Lizard.
Yes. That he's off to meet the Olympic Committee lizard as instructed.
As instructed.
He's also extended his visit to become a royal tour, essentially going from just weeks to 5 months.
5 months away for a father to be away from
His children and his wife. But if it's what needs to be done for him to settle, then not just in the marriage, but maybe as a father, as a consort, then he's willing to do it. It's worth it. And so Lil's like, come on, man, you don't have to be like that. They're just trying to help.
By putting a problem on a boat to Australia and hoping it sorts itself out, or better still, sinks.
Yeah. And so they're kind of going back and forth about whether this is an opportunity or a punishment.
Mm-hmm.
But Philip decides that he's got to go. He's got to go meet with them. And the queen is being called away for her photo shoot. And so
she says he might enjoy it. She's like,
the attention, the spotlight.
Yeah, she's like, try to enjoy it, really just let it be, for you. And he says, don't dress betrayal up as a favor.
Yeah.
And he leaves.
Yeah, he just walks out and she's like, Philip, wait. But then the queen is being called for her photo shoot. And so she has to go do her duty. And her husband just stands in the hallway for a second. She doesn't come after him. So then he just walks.
So here's the montage of the closing scenes, because this is the end of the whole fucking season. So we're getting a closeout on a lot of different storylines.
Yeah, kind of where are we leaving things off?
Where are we leaving? Right. So Eden is watching a film. Nasser's saying they're going to fight to the last drop of blood. Like, he's pissed.
Yeah,
right?
Nasser's really offended.
He's shooting up while watching this film, and then that film ends up like kind of doing the little
well, yeah, basically it's at the end, and this one little piece of film is still being subjected to the heat of the light, so it's burning. And so Nasser's image is being melted away, and Eden is
passed out on the table because he is shot up with morphine.
Yeah. Now, when I first watched this, I thought he was dead.
No.
But
just fucking passed
I
out.
think that might be what the season maybe wanted us to maybe think. Maybe did he go overboard? Did he overdose? That's where I was left hanging.
Something like that. Margaret's at a lunch with her little socialite friends, but she's fucking miserable.
Yeah, she's acting like everything's okay and then immediately drops the smile.
Peter gets to his apartment in Brussels and he sees the little picture of Margaret and he sits on his bed and he sobs.
Yeah. That hard.
Breaks my heart. Yeah.
That's hard. He really, I think he was, like you said, he really didn't think this was ever going to work, but maybe right at the end, I think maybe he had hope.
Yeah. Phillip is in his car. He is driving away, angry and pissed off.
Liz is posing for the photographers, just looking miserable, yet regal.
Shall I read the final lines?
Yes. I love these final lines. And it's all faced on Liz. So
I am going to try and channel this man's voice.
Yeah, this man was a character in and of himself. Give that actor another job.
All hail, sage lady, whom a grateful isle hath blessed, not moving, not breathing. Our very own goddess, glorious Gloriana, forgetting Elizabeth Windsor now only Elizabeth Regina. Yes.
Yeah, very
End credits.
Wank hand emoji.
Oh yeah, and then it's like done. The whole show.
Yeah, that's the end of season 1. We did it. We have a whole season under our belt.
That last little shot too of her face is just.
She gives a lot in that look.
She does.
Yeah, so like it's like this look of pain, but I'm holding it in to do a job. I'm here to do a damn job. And that's the look I got from her.
Basically, yeah, she seems like she's kind of bracing herself. She's bucking herself up with her little shoulders and like, okay, well, here I am. This is what I am.
This is me now.
Yep, I am forgetting Elizabeth Windsor and I'm becoming Elizabeth Regina.
Yeah, that's that posture change.
Yep, she has chosen the crown.
Yeah.
And she's it now.
She will always choose the crown.
Yeah.
Well, guys, season 1.
Damn.
Well, like we said earlier, we're going to be taking a break for the summer, but hopefully we'll be back with season 2 this fall, hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Yes. Allegedly.
Allegedly's.
Yeah. We have to see how the things turn out. Life is crazy. We have no idea what this summer holds for us.
I know.
It's going to be a lot of hot girl summer, hot history girl summer.
Hot climate summer.
Well, also that, but I'm thinking for well-behaved women.
Oh.
Hot history girl summer.
Maybe I should find a theme. I don't know about that, but I can try.
We should. I think I've been thinking about looking ahead and trying to maybe just like look at the holidays and or the seasons coming up, and maybe we'll try to follow a theme that corresponds. We'll see.
Maybe. Okay.
We'll try. All right. Well, guys, thank you guys so much for listening to season 1 of The Crownening. The Crownening.
And as always, this has been a fucking podcast.
A fucking podcast.
Bye.
Cheerio.